Hello. My, that's a foggy, smoky welcome you've got there.
Hello, ladies. No, I'm sorry.
Are you in a smoking room somehow?
It's called a vape.
Oh, okay. I couldn't tell what you had going on. Well, that's a thing. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Thursday night, and it is Brewing Controversy, and we welcome you to the show. I am Lucas, and that is David, and we are coming to you from opposite ends of the north-south spectrum of the country at the moment, because our man is in Orlando in training.
It was either this or Chicago, and they sent me here.
I was hoping for Chicago.
I was hoping for Chicago.
We would have been able to get together for this show.
You want to know why I was hoping for Chicago? I was hoping for Chicago.
Plenty of reasons, but
because there's winter in Chicago. Do you not want to know what there's not in Orlando?
Winter.
There's not winter.
However, it's here. It's in the 60s today. And
well,
Chicago was similar, so you'd have been SOL. This week is actually quite pleasant here in the Midwest.
Well, I keep on getting a kick. One of my fellow trainees is his store is going to be in Michigan.
Oh, no, that's
and well, but here's the problem: is he keeps on thinking that it's cold here, and I'm like, you're going to die. You are going to literally die.
What city? What city will he be in?
Lansing.
Womp womp. Okay.
Yeah, no, he's going to be cold. Hi, Carrie.
Yep, Carrie's here. Hello. Good to see you. If you're here, feel free to say hi or just lurk and don't. But if you feel like getting vocal, the nature of the show is that we will take comments, we will address comments, we will goof around with the comments, positive, negative, reputation threatening, whatever you've got. You can feel free to throw it at us. Kai is here. Hi, Kai.
Hi, Kai.
So for those that don't know, David and I have been pals for many a year at this point. Holy shit! How long have I known you?
Jesus Christ! I don't want to count because then we're going to both feel old at that point. No.
Let's see, Mac Authority 2011, 2020, yeah, like 10 years or something. And the nature of our relationship has always been to drink craft beer and bitch and moan as leftists about the state of the nation and the world. And sometime during the pandemic, we decided the solution to both our boredom and our civic duty was to do the same shit in front of an audience on the internet. So if you've never been here before, thank you for joining us. It's a lot of fun. We try to have a lot of fun. The whole concept is that we are unfiltered, foul-mouthed, opinionated, beer drinking, progressively drunker liberals. So it should be a good party. Tonight we're going to be reviewing some beer like we always do in between our topics, and we're going to talk a little bit about things that are related to the pending election. You've been a busy man. You've been in pretty solid training schedules all week, so you and I haven't talked a whole lot. And
no.
Then I've been making more friends on the right here in Grand Rapids.
Right.
While I do a little hobnobbing tonight, I did an excellent bit of hobnobbing. I was telling David about earlier. Went once again to a little meetup to support my commissioner, Kurt Reppert, here in First Ward of Grand Rapids, and ended up having just a really great intimate round table with some pretty great forward-thinking, smart community people. I'm not going to use the show to name names and talk about who I hang out with and talk to because I don't want to imply endorsements. I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but I try to be a useful cup of tea. And so that's been my vibe. Other than that, just basically hunkering down and hoping for the best next Tuesday. You, sir, are going to be in Orlando through the election. If you have 2 weeks of training, so you're going to actually be in the land of DeSantis on election night, and that's going to be interesting. And David's going to say a few words on what it's like in the land of DeSantis when we kick in to our topics, which we'll do that right now. We start every night that we do the show with the hot take happy hour, So this is just stuff that's come together that's not a major topic, but news items or other goings on that we like to talk about. And we keep track of that here on the bottom of the screen for all to see. Brian is here. Aloha, Brian. What's up, buddy? Good to see you. For those that missed the Halloween show last week, Brian was one of our little Brady Bunch grid of friends of the show, as was Carrie. And we had a grand time doing the pumpkin beer and other assorted things, including some of Brian's aromatic contributions of pumpkin spice THC products. And it was a lot of fun. It was great. Thank you guys for doing that. So speaking of spilling tea, so up here, as many know, we've had volumes of bullshit in the mail for our elections, and some of that bullshit has come from dark money in this Safe GR campaign. So I read an article last week in local media where they outed, and I've already mentioned this, I think, on the show. They outed one of the Chamber of Commerce vice presidents, Josh Lunger, as being one of the operators behind the dark money campaign to smear our sitting commissioner, one of our two, the one I like, the one I'm not in a feud with, the not John O'Connor one, Kurt Redhart. So he's been getting smeared with basically spins and lies from the right, from a dark money organization called safegr.org. And I had the revelation on Monday to go and take a peeky peek. I had written a big post on Reddit that got banned from the Grand Rapids subreddit twice. Most Reddit users have told me they think it was because they considered it doxing for me to write up a long form that exposes the people behind this dark money campaign. But it was FCC records for that. It was going through media purchases that are documented. You have to have a form that you tell people who you really are when you're even a dark money PAC, etc. So they were right there, visible public records, and it wasn't really doxing. It was just stating public fact. So I hope that's not it. I want to believe that it's just the sick tendrils of the well-moneyed right wing going in and controlling moderation or threatening people, but whatever. I decided since we're going to play that game, I'll just make it into a fucking blog, and I put it on Medium. I was going to launch my first Medium article. It was actually going to be entitled West Michigan Nice is a Toxic Lie. And I was going to dive into that topic, but I decided, okay, well, fuck them. That's what we're going to do first. Then we're going to talk about this motherfucker and his cohorts. So I did that. I laid it all bare. Then Monday, it was already getting some traction. Monday, I had the thought, and I went and did a little search. Turns out those dumb fucks didn't buy safegr.net. They spent tens of thousands of dollars, and they left a $16 hole for me to slither into. So I bought it. And I announced that I owned it at the commission meeting in my remarks on Tuesday night. I walked into the commission meeting on Tuesday night with 288 views of that blog, David. And I checked before the show. It's at 680 views now.
Nice.
The best fucking free advertising, no money for me to go and speak at the podium and tell people about it. And the great thing is, as much as I've done to spread it around Reddit and Facebook and anywhere else, it's like 98% of the visits are coming from emails, text messages, and direct linking, which means people are fucking handing it around. They're either handing it around going, can you believe this bastard? Who the fuck does he think he is? Or they're handing it around going, see, I told you, these people are full of shit, and this outlines how.
Yeah,
either way, I'll take
the
it.
latter. Normally it's the latter. Normally, if you really hate someone, you don't have time to share it around. Unless you're me and you're like, I want to share this with all of you to explain to you how much I hate it.
Good point. So, so that's been going on. And then the other Michigan political news, I heard on NPR this morning that over in Flint, there was a lawsuit brought by the state GOP and then the national GOP that Flint didn't appoint enough Republicans to their election monitoring fucking whatever. And Flint's point was, we tried, we couldn't recruit enough people. Imagine that. Flint being devoid of Republicans. Whatever could have occurred that would have made that the circumstance. And the judge basically looked at the law and said, this is for county parties to bring complaints, so get the fuck out. So it's yet another petty doubt casting in advance that they got shot down on, and that's kind of nice to see. And then I was getting David up to speed because, you know, as a hardworking trainee, he's balls to the wall all day. That the recent headlines this evening, fucking Milwaukee had a Republican election official faking out military ballots. Remind us again who is trying to steal elections. Remind us again which side can't be trusted with the vote integrity. So this jackass was fired trying to deliver fake military, requesting fake military back or military ballots for fake voters and sending them to a Republican state lawmaker. So that's great.
And you know he's going to get a slap on the wrist.
Pennsylvania has a town, Berks County, Pennsylvania, where local election officials have directed the sheriff's deputies to hang out and question people before they can put their ballot in the box.
And I want to jump in here because I've mostly been letting you tear off with the hot takes.
Yeah,
I don't have that many hot takes today. I only got one that I really like.
But David is the de facto legal voice of our pair. I am the everyman loudmouth, and David actually has a fucking law degree. So,
so the problem I have with this is this: there is no reasonable suspicion. There is no cause to investigate.
Mhm.
There is no public safety function. There is nothing. This is just straight up voter intimidation.
Mhm.
This is just, there is no anything else about this. There is no the act of voting does not make one suspicious. The act of voting by mail-in ballot does not make one suspicious.
Oh, and John has answered the question. Democrats, no wait, it's opposite day. So yeah, Republicans are always fucking with. And hi, John. It's been a minute since John's been able to make it out. So it's good to see you, buddy.
Hi, John.
So, you know, this kind of leans right back into the thing that we talk about sometimes on this show. John Oliver has dove in on it pretty well. The fucking uselessness and dangerous recklessness and just backwoods dumb shit of sheriffs, period. Mm-hmm. Sheriffs as a concept, just baseline fuckery. And this is one of those applications where sheriffs are an unnecessary bullshit risk that slides in through state constitutions, and basically you have instances like this. They got nothing else the fuck to do, so they can go and intimidate people at the polls.
I mean, honestly, the form that I would prefer in most cases in the United States is I would prefer for most states to take over the primary, you know, because I've had people be like, oh, we just need like one big national federal police force. I'm like, well, no. And because states
possibly go wrong.
Right. There's that. Also, states have state laws and they need state police to enforce state laws, just like the feds have their own law enforcement that enforces federal laws. But I would prefer, I think we need to come to a moment where the idea of, like, I'm here in Orlando, right? And I'm having to explain to people when I'm talking about my home and where my store is, right? Of, okay, it's in Bellevue. So, like the city of Bellevue? No, there is no city of Bellevue. It's just all Nashville. It's just all. It's all, and trying to explain to them, like, because I drive through 4 cities to get from my hotel to my work. I technically drive.
Wasn't Bellevue a city of its own until some point in our lifetimes in the Nashville area?
It was never incorporated. It's just always been.
Okay.
It's like in the same way that I technically live in Pasquo.
Oh yeah, unincorporated little postage stamps all over Tennessee, right? Yeah,
right. So
when I grew up, I lived in Murfreesboro by words, but Las Casas by technical location and Milton by address. Maybe no, Milton by location, Las Casas by address, but everybody would just say Murfreesboro. But really, shorthand in the 80s and 90s would be, we live just outside of Nashville, because nobody knows what the fuck any of the rest of that is.
No.
And nowadays, you just say Nashville for anything within an hour because it's a fucking greater metro at this point. And
although, no, I'm going to
David's going to split hairs about the real Nashvillians that actually grew up in the city limits.
Grew up inside the city. But no, I mean, trying to explain to these people, and I pass, like, there's a police station down the street from me. I want to clarify, it shares its space with a 7-Eleven.
Which department is it? Do you know?
It is the Eatonville, or no, not Eatonville. It's it's like Easton or something. And
Okay.
here's the thing: I'm in Maitland, which means it's just on the border. This little
Right.
police station. I'm technically in the city of Maitland. I drive through the city of Eatonville, which is apparently one of the oldest, primarily black communities in the nation. I don't think I actually ever drive into. Oh, and then eventually I drive into my work in Winter Park. All of these are separate cities. This is stupid. This is
Yeah.
absolutely stupid. And by the way, each one of them has their own police department.
No, of course they do. We covered that many months ago, back in June, when I was at Turner House. When I was at Turner House Brewing in Chicago with my friend Steve at his brewery, and he made the excellent point. Everybody's got to have fucking cops now. We've got too many different police departments, every fucking thing, transit departments and schools. And
you know what, Lucas?
you know.
Though I want to applaud whatever cabal of graphic engineers and graphic designers, because at this point I feel like they're the ones behind it, because each one of them has to have their own custom tactical badge. They have to have the coolest looking car.
You say that like anybody makes any money.
Futuristic paint job.
Emergency vehicles are usually lettered and striped by fucking backwoods rednecks that like just copy the last fucking backwoods redneck.
I mean, it's
on the car.
It seriously all looks all looks like Detroit from RoboCop, man.
I'm not
all the time.
I'm not fucking with you. And the beginning of this sentence is going to tell everybody the story by itself. One time in North Georgia, I was coming out of East Tennessee. We had just opened a store in Johnson City, and I was going to Atlanta to round out the trip in some level of civilization. And I don't know where in the fuck I was in North Georgia, but the law enforcement vehicle, I'm not kidding, was like a brown Crown Vic with mailbox letters spelling sheriff, just like the angled fucking gold and black fucking mailbox letters, sheriff on the door of this brown ass beat up. I will never know if it was legit, and I'm glad I don't have reason to have tried to find out.
Oh my god! Well, no, I mean,
Rob's here. Speaking of suburbs associated with large cities, all the way from the left coast in LA-ish, Hawthorne. Good to see you, buddy. Also, Rob joined us last week for the party. Yeah, the Buford T. Justice special is for real, Brad. Nice. So, David, tell us about the rest of your visit to the land of DeSantis.
Well, I just want to finish with this one thought real fast, which is, I really do wish states would just be like, you know what? We're just going to have a state police force, and then we're going to have departments for, hey, this is the Nashville department. Hey, this is the Memphis department. Hey, this is the department for all the bumfuck meth land that's in between Memphis and Nashville.
Mm-hmm. Not to be confused with the bumfuck weed land between Nashville and Kentucky, or the bumfuck moonshine land between Nashville and Alabama.
Right.
And I don't really know what it is that they contraband in the eastern path. Probably more meth.
Opium.
It's where they make the fentanyl Skittles.
He thinks I'm joking. It's
no, I don't think you're joking. What else is going on with your tourist experience there in DeSantis territory? Are you in DeSantis territory, or are you in places where there might be pockets of reasonable people?
I'm thoroughly confused on that point, and I think that's one of the things I'm learning about this region. So I drive through Eatonville, again, historically black community. I don't get the DeSantis vibe. I get the, hey, we're very proud of our community.
Imagine that. No DeSantis vibe where the black folks are. What in the world happened?
I gotta be honest. The black community looks nicer than a lot of the white communities.
Dude, it's like that in Atlanta. This fucking
Um,
stereotype that Americans get pushed, it's so backward. There's so many fine, beautiful black communities in this country that we get sold this fucking horse shit by stereotype after
yeah.
stereotype. So that doesn't shock me in the
But
least.
but on the flip side, when I'm wandering around Winter Park, which is very obviously Belmeadish, it's super Belmeadish,
Well, winter, white, appropriate.
right? It's wall to wall DeSantis. And
Huh.
I think one of the things that strikes me as odd is in most cities like Nashville, like most, we're going to set Florida aside as this weird thing because it's obvious that Florida is a weird thing. Like in Nashville, I don't imagine anyone in any Nashville neighborhood would feel super comfortable publicly and openly embracing far right conservatism, right? I don't think, as it exists right now,
Mhm.
I don't think anyone would be comfortable with that. I think a lot of people would be like, my neighbors are going to see, it's going to be a little bit, it's going to be super awkward. They're going to talk to my bosses. People know each other. This isn't going to work. I'm okay doing like, oh, I'm a Republican, but not those Republicans, right? Not really. I'm the sensible fascist. I'm the everyday man's fascist.
Old traditional fascism. Old
Right,
Bush era fascism. The golden years
right.
of gentle, light, LITE with a trademark fascism.
It's but and the thing is, the same's true in Chicago, right? Like if you're in Chicago, if you're in God help you if you're in Philadelphia, right? Your car will never make it out of downtown in one piece. You're gonna you're gonna come in one end with a whole car, and somehow you're gonna be wildly coyoting like a steering wheel and a headlight on the other side, right? uh,
Uh,
it's not going to work. But I think what happens in some place like Orlando is that you end up with this split, right? You end up
yeah.
with these communities that feel like who feel empowered by the fact that, oh no, you're not a part of me. I'm in Winter
Mhm.
Park. Winter Park is not Eatonville. We are not the same. And in the same way that, Winter Park is not Orlando, we are not the same.
Mhm.
Like I don't think I've actually been into the city of Orlando as far as I can tell since I've been here.
Well,
Other
and
than to
isn't
arrive by the airport.
where's Disney World technically? Because they have a lot of their own district. That was the big
Not
controversy.
anymore.
Well,
Not
right.
anymore.
They had their whole thing.
Yeah,
So
and
where do they get folded into? I don't even know.
I think that's further to the south and east of me.
Could be. Sean
Um,
wants to know, based on my riffing on the Skittles, if
there
anyone had any
was
proof.
actually one
I don't.
instance of someone. I think they did it just to do it. I mean, that was part of the thing
Yeah,
is everyone kept on talking about it. And they're like, you know
you
what?
talk about it enough, somebody's gonna fucking do it. Right.
Yeah, someone actually did the razor blades and the candy thing this year just to like. I'm like, just
Oh, that's what I should do next year is just ditch my whole Nightmare Before Christmas festive thing. And instead of like, at Christmas time, people will get like the giant bonbons and candies with lights in them and shit and make this festive fucking candy. I should do the urban legend version and have like candy with giant fucking razor blades sticking out of it and like cracked out like get some inflatables and then like crack out their faces and put like little fentanyl cans in their hands or something.
I,
Yeah,
I
that'll
also
be
have to,
fun.
I also have to say one thing that I would never see in Nashville, and I think mostly because Republicans think it's a waste of time, which is billboards like QAnon billboards or
Really?
Q-ish billboards.
I mean, I've seen some crazy fucking billboards in Nashville. And of course, here, we covered this earlier. The fucking
Yeah.
billboards are a big thing at the moment.
No, but I mean like true on like Q-ish billboards. I've never seen one in Nashville. I've never even seen one in the communities surrounding Nashville. And I think it's because, like, once you hit a point outside of Nashville, I think what it is that, again, that this balkanization of communities that happens in Florida creates an environment in which you get really angry pockets
Yeah.
pointed against each other, right?
Huh.
In a way that it doesn't work when you have a major metropolitan united government in the center and a bunch of suburbs that might be very much more conservative. It does kind of split it up into two different camps. Everyone understands that if you're inside that line, you're probably voting Democrat. And if you're outside that line, it's probably about 60-40 that you're voting Republican.
I can see that. All right, David, you got the last item on the list, and of course, this requires that we give you one of your favorite things. We've got something special always on hand when David talks about his favorite guy. It's time for an Elon Musk boner alert, hate boner alert. You informed me about this because I missed this in the news cycle. Apparently, Musk has been going after AOC.
So AOC, for those of you who aren't familiar, AOC decided to go spank Musk over his $8 a blue check plan.
God. I saw that. I saw Trevor Noah making fun of that, and it was fucking hysterical.
So apparently, now did Musk say that this is what happened? No, but he also didn't deny it. And I feel like this is something that if he hadn't done, if you had any degree of intelligence, if anyone was sitting there holding Musk, just gently patting, be like, Daddy Musk, I need you to not yell at the Congress lady. just real nice. Just real. It's okay, Daddy Musk. It's okay. I need you to not yell at the Congress lady. So it looks like what he did, and AOC accused him of it, of basically shadow banning her from Twitter by making it appear that she couldn't connect for a day. And AOC had, AOC is looking at me like, so this is what I would pay $8 a month for, so that if I trash you, the king of free speech,
Right.
who's all like, oh, everyone needs to be able to, except unless I'm criticizing you,
Right.
You worthless bore fuck.
Just like backing law enforcement, they're all about it until it doesn't agree with them.
Right. So, but it gets worse for Musk because some financial details came to light today. So Musk paid $44 billion for a $20 billion company.
Sweet.
What does Musk owe per year in interest? Not in principal, in interest.
You're the guy with the economist family. You're going to have to answer that.
Throw out a number. Throw out a number.
Interest on this purchase?
On this purchase.
40. It was 44 billion. 4 million or more. 40 million. You can see I'm going with tens here.
A lot more. You can go ahead and skip a few spaces.
So 10 billion.
He owes $1 billion a year in interest.
Love it.
$1 billion cash. He's got to come up to the bank with $1 billion cash. That means that, I mean, he's what should have been a prime rate loan is cost him probably in about 10% interest.
Here's the problem, though. In America, I still don't have any faith that he will actually lose his ass and be sent away.
Well, no, because here's the problem is that it's what he had to put up as collateral. See, Trump has always had this one ace in the hole, which is, I don't actually own anything. I don't really own any stock. I own one thing. I created my name into its own intellectual property, right?
Yeah.
That I'm guaranteed to be able to use under IP law because guess what? It's my name.
Yeah, right.
Musk had to put up his shares in Tesla as collateral for the loan, which means that if he can't pay on the loan, he loses Tesla. And if he doesn't have Tesla and all he's got is this overvalued Twitter enterprise, the only way for him to to get back anywhere near the top is to start jettisoning his other bullshit enterprises like the Boring Company, which exists entirely to defeat public transit, not create it, by his own admission. And he'll have to sell Twitter.
You're a little more optimistic than I am about any of that, but I could see the selling Twitter part being an interesting silver lining. And
no, I mean, Twitter will be dead by the time he sells it. Twitter will be dead by the time he sells it
to get rid of it. All right, well, good for him. I hope he loses his entire ass. Anyway, this is the part of the show where we start to dive into the big topics. We always take a topic that's important to one of us, and one of us has a particularly passionate bent on. And that's what we typically will handle first, and then we jump into our main discussion. But before we do any of that, we have to make sure that we've poured some beverages. So this is the part of the show where we always get into the first one of those, and we ask, what you drinking? So, do you want to go first?
Let's begin.
Because it's experimental.
All right. You are. I opened
mine too. It live. You're gonna get the first impression.
You go first. You go first, because then for once we get to have Uncle Pubby slideshow.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I always get made fun of because I've done more of the beer tourism between the two of us, and I show slides, and I get made fun of for being old Uncle Lucas's travel slideshow. So I made David take photos with his beer tourism while he's in Orlando. So I will jump in and go first. So I decided to get into something. I did some pre-gaming at the election event earlier, at the Kurt Reppert event earlier at the Mitten. So I thought this would be a good night to mix in something completely new to me, which is a non-alcoholic sparkling hop water with mango from my fave, New Holland. Follows the same concept that we've seen from the beers. I will give them credit for this clever little NA for non-alcoholic built right in. That's cute. So apparently Amarillo, hops, and mango. And I've heard it described. The guys working at the Mitten have had it. I told them I was going to try it on the show tonight, and they described it as seltzer water with hops. So my expectation going in is a LaCroix that drove past a mango truck, as LaCroix mango would, that also tripped over hops on the way to the mango truck. So that's what I'm expecting. Now that we're going to find out what happens here. Shit, it smells like a beer that you just pulled all the maltiness out of. Like, it literally smells like hop water. I've also earned some sort of flying insect now. All right, so here we go. It doesn't taste bad. Whoop. Still not bad. But the description I was about to give took a turn. So these are not considered negatives because it's actually kind of pleasant and refreshing. But if I had to try to tell somebody what it tastes like, if you had mango pre-foaming hand soap, you washed your hands, you rinsed your hands and caught the water. That's what the first blush tastes like. It's got a sharp, soapy-ish thing. Then the mango really kicks in and takes over and boots the hops out. And it tastes like you're fucking somebody that had mango sunscreen and you got a little bit of it in your mouth. I don't have another way to describe it. It's like a little salty, sweaty mango thing. And it's probably the salty is probably being informed by leftover hop flavor. I don't know. But it went from hand soap
now it's salty sex mango sunscreen.
And all the while, it's not bad. It's refreshing. It's just not, it's nothing like anything I've ever tasted before. I'll give it that. Olivia, hi Olivia. Olivia's here. Have I ever had Harpoon's Camp Wenamango. No, I have
I wa-
not. Is it
I
a
really
beer
I
or a
really want to
water?
understand how Olivia took your description of salt sex mango sunscreen and then immediately was like, "Hey, I know someone else who makes sexy mango sunscreen."
Here's what I'm going to say. I don't know why in the fuck this was just introduced. At the end of summer, beginning of fall, I have no idea why in the fuck this was just introduced, because this, and maybe there was a reason. It might have been that they intended a different time and it just had to be now. But this is not something that I would have associated with right now. For me, the rest of these, I want to save for hot weather. I want to take them to the lake. I want to take them to the beach. This tastes like I should be kicked back in a hot environment, using it as my hydration between beers, which is precisely what this is
Actually,
fucking for.
actually, that's not an awful idea.
Well, it's a brilliant idea, because then you can keep on the train of the general vibe, but be hydrating yourself.
I hate that.
It's kind of
that's a
like
terrible idea.
it's kind of like how you always brought the it wasn't Truly. What was the other basic bitch canned drink?
White Claw,
White Claw.
the
When we were
claw,
doing the house parties for
Game of Thrones.
in the before times for Game of Thrones, and David would show up with a case of Claw, and he would
Two
use
cases
them as
of Claw.
hydration between stronger
Yep.
booze. It's like an
Terrible.
actual non-alcoholic version of that.
Like one's 12%, one's 5%. We use the 5% to hydrate in between the 12%.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to throw Brian in the middle here real
Yeah.
quick. That way I don't have to scroll back and find his
Which-
comment. So we like to give Brian a piece of the action so he can describe his particular treat of the evening as a oh, it's a set of bikes. Okay. That was unified enough that it could have either been tiny dick pickup truck or a gang of bikes. So Brian's tossing at us with indica whole flower called papaya cake, 24% THC, very smelly, but in a good way. Tastes good when smoking and has a classic buzz. I like the classic buzz thing there. That gives me mental images of 60s and 70s people hanging out, smoking. David?
Speaking of which, we need to talk about my beer excursion through Orlando thus far.
I got to hear about all of these before the show, so I know where he's going with this.
So let's start with can you spool up Sanford Brewing Company, because that was the first one I went to.
Yeah. Well, you want to do the look around first?
Yeah.
All right. So Sanford, it's these guys. I told David I like this wall. I think it's a nice looking.
Yeah, no, it's a
wall.
nice looking wall. It's a nice little looking brewery. They don't have any of their brewing stuff really. Apparently, this is kind of like a satellite location, just like Tailgate has satellite locations. This is like a little satellite location. For Sanford Brewing. They don't have a lot of stuff that they distribute, although I'm sure I've seen them someplace. They have a lot of interesting riffs on, I feel like, other beers that I've had. Their Blue Bear is a lot like a 420 Blue, only I actually think it's a little superior. It had more of a beer taste. I mean, if you've ever had 420 Blue, it's like drinking down an alcoholic blueberry, which is good but strange. It feels awkward.
It's a nice looking place.
It's a nice little joint. Not, I mean, pretty standard graphics as you can see. They just got the big hop. And I've got one of their beers to have later. And that was a nice place, but it was the second place that I went to, Tactical Brewing Company. And I have to preface this. So I was a little annoyed because first of all, it was in this super bougie part of town. And I was like,
you want me to pull those photos up for you?
Yes, go ahead and start pulling up the photos. Right. So it's in this super bougie part of town. And at first I was like, I don't know if I'm going to like this. And then I got in there and I sat down and people at first the the bartenders were just seriously straight up staring at me and not saying anything. I'm kind of waiting for one of them to acknowledge me so I could order a beer.
You ain't
Uh,
from around here, are you?
I could have taken it that way. I just felt like they were being, at first I thought they were being assholes. Then I finally figured it out once I started to taste their beer. They were all baked out of their goddamn minds, like all the way. We are not in orbit anymore. The ship has left Earth's gravity and is quickly speeding for the outer solar system, man. We are on full Age of Aquarius blasting all the way.
And these next two pictures really speak to that, because I was cracking up when he was sending me these photos. So this next one is, you said, at first I didn't know if I believed him, and then he sent me the photos that they have a TV that's rolling nothing but Bob Ross.
Bob Ross 24/7. And there's Bob Ross stickers everywhere.
There's like a Bob Ross Lego up at the top. I think there might be a Bob Ross potato head over in there. I can't tell.
There is a Bob Ross potato head.
Oh my god, that's amazing!
Just,
and then all this space, headspace, culminated in this thing.
So, this thalinized Pilsner. So I'm trying to explain this to Lucas because I'm like, this is the most wild beer I have ever consumed in my entire life.
Cruiser. I just love it.
It is the strangest. So basically what it is it's beer turned into white wine. Something about a silver solution that it has to pass through, have the silver removed in its entirety. Like this, it has to be suspended in some sort of like silver colloid solution. The silver is removed, hops are re-added, and what you get is it tastes like if Cheech and Chong collected all their smoke that they've ever smoked all in one place, and they concentrated it and they breathed it all through one bong. This would be that bong water, right? This would be that bong water.
I have this mental image of the conception of this, like a bunch of guys sitting around going, "Oh, bro," and it just keeps going.
It is the most intense. It is like drinking a marijuana plant.
David texted me. He said, "This is the wildest beer I've ever had." But of course, that's not what you chose to take with you and talk about on the show.
Mostly because
you went way tamer.
I couldn't get through a whole one. Just to let you know how high these guys were. So I asked for a sample of I'm like, hey, can you just like pour me a little bit of this Quasar Cruiser? And like you could see that he tried for a second, and then he was just like, nah, fuck it. Grabs a can, cracks it open, and gives me half. And gives the guy next to me. He's like, here, you can have the other half.
Was it only in a can? Or was the tap out?
It was one of those things where I'm not asking. I'm not asking.
You're probably better off.
I'm like,
leave it alone. Just walk away.
Yep.
Drink your bong water beer and walk away.
So I elected to go for, I'm like, okay, I appreciate the fact that you all really like making the relationship between hops and marijuana, because they are in the same family, so evident, so violently as I've experienced right now. Oh Jesus, so violently. Oh man, like white wine, weed, beer.
Jesus.
So instead, I'm like, okay, let's take it down a notch. So I got this elliptical.
This sweet can. Here.
Yeah,
let's
blow
actually that thing up. That's pretty rad.
This is actually a collaboration with Elliptical Brewing with Tailgate. Not Tailgate, pardon me. Brewing. Tactical.
Neat. It may not focus on the text.
Yeah, it may not focus.
These shiny cans really throw these.
So basically, this is whatever bong water was left after the Quasar. We're there again. It's not bad. The lemon, so what's weird about this is it's definitely it's hops, it's weed, it's straight up like boom, in your face, but it has a really crisp lemon tang at the end. The only problem is that my tongue is completely dry from drinking this.
Dry
So
mouth. Check.
it's like it's not attacking the sides of like wherever the saliva has taken refuge in my mouth is the only place I can taste the lemon
That's
twang at
funny.
the end. Uh but no, I mean this is like I want to point out I've gone to THC bars, right? Where they're serving THC infused drinks.
Yeah.
This tastes like something I would expect to have THC in it, and yet it doesn't. And that is in its own way
Kind of
disappointing.
cool though. I
Um,
don't know. But
but I
you
mean,
like it.
you know what I do. I think with
Is
everything
it a
from
sometimes beer or a keep around beer?
I think this is a sometimes beer. They had some others like their Ton Tavern, which were a lot more approachable and I think a lot more drinkable. I feel like a lot of the stuff where they're playing around with hops, they're just like, you know what? Other people make a big deal about their hops. I piss on those people. I piss on them and I make this. I mean, it's
my thumb at you.
right. It really is. It like I'll show you what hops are. How you like this shit? I feel like that's part of what has happened here, is that it's just sort of like a personal challenge to how much hop flavor can I shove in a beer and still make it palatable of any way in any way.
Well, I'm going to stay in non-alcoholic spacer land, and you can use that to calm your nerves as you dive in. David brought the pet topic of the evening for his
Oh,
personal preference with a rather epic titling. So we're going to talk about the
I want to
economics of
clarify.
terror and the audacity of bullshit.
Yeah, Lucas did some editing, just some slight editing. This is actually two separate titles or two separate things. And he's just like, you know
This
what? We're
title
just
was
gonna.
better together, like a Hillary campaign or something. And he had a subtitle on the other one that we're going to get to.
Yeah.
David
What,
does the lawyering, and I do the wordsmithing around here. That's how
Oh.
this works. But anyway,
Yeah.
I had to dig into this a little with you earlier because you suggested it, and I said, okay, let me make sure I understand. And so I think your summary was pretty effective that you said to me earlier. I want you to kind of introduce with that on this general topic.
I mean, so basically, here's what we see happening on a regular basis. We would expect that if media was unpalatable, if a television personality was unpalatable to the vast majority of Americans, that they would lose power, right? They'd eventually be fired because advertisers would pull their money, networks would get tired of losing money on their time slot. Eventually, they'd be forced into smaller and smaller roles, talking to fewer and fewer people, and we'd get rid of them. But right-wing media today seems apparently immune, right? Everyone who could, every major advertiser that could, has long ago left InfoWars. Tucker Carlson, no major brand will touch his show. Sean Hannity, most major brands won't touch his show. These guys like,
And they keep swimming for the bottom,
right?
And they keep losing buoys and tethers, and somehow they're still full speed swimming.
It doesn't make and it on the surface it doesn't make any sense. Ironically, the very capitalism that these guys worship should crush them. And the question is, why doesn't it?
Yeah.
And the answer is because they've created this really nifty self-feedback mechanism. Even though they keep on losing subscribers or their subscriber level stays stagnant, which again in media world should make them untouchable, right? No one should want to reinvest in an organization that isn't growing its subscriber base.
Brian points out they have their niche. That's really what floats their existence. But also, I would say that in a lot of ways, these are vanity projects that can only survive because of the things like the riches of the Murdochs, their ability to insulate themselves against major setbacks and loss.
Well, I mean, it isn't just that. It is also, and this is one of the things that I think makes it hard for reality to penetrate. It is this culture of fear and expected exploitation.
Expected exploitation of who by
So there's no possible way that if you talk to a person, you'll go and talk to some of these people, be like, so if I offer you a car with 20,000 miles on it for $5,000 and a car with $50,000 or 50,000 miles on it for $10,000, which would you pick? Well, they're perfectly rational. They'll pick the car with the lower mileage and the lower price, right? It makes perfect sense. But when they look at, say, Jones and InfoWars, he's like, I've got this male testosterone booster that, is going to make you like 1,000 times more rock hard. In fact, it'll add 20 inches to your dick. Your balls will grow to the size of bowling balls. You'll be forced to check
your nuts as luggage when you board a plane.
This bullshit, right? That he's selling, and they know it's not true. It's very obvious. They've taken the pills. They can look down at their testicles and realize those are not the size of bowling balls, right? The size of little peas, little tiny peas. But it's expected. There is a transaction that is occurring where they see their devotion in financial terms, which it makes it more like a cult. But it's not truly a cult, because it's not just that they arbitrarily believe everything these people say, because they've proven that if one of them says something different, it isn't personality, right? If Jones says something that viewer B doesn't like, he doesn't feel obligated to Jones. He'll be like, Jones has been co-opted by the mainstream media, and jump over to some other even more neo-Nazi site, right?
It's almost like they've created in the viewership the perception that can shoot them in the ass for maintaining credibility with people.
Right.
I mean, I just hammered a guy earlier on Nextdoor because he used the phrase mainstream media. He was trying to say that even if the right wing has more dark money, the left wing has the mainstream media, so it's just all in balance.
Yep.
Whatever. Anyone who uses the phrase mainstream media, you
right,
already know they're off their fucking rocker. Those 3 words or 2 words, depending on how they write it, that tells you, okay, this is a nut.
Yep.
Day one, they're a nut.
Hi, Courtney.
Hey, Courtney or Jill. What's going on? Space Force.
You're
the
right.
only Space Force person I know, and the only Space Force person I like.
You're right.
Otherwise known as someone who would be an awesome employee of the Space Division of the Air Force that we already had.
Exactly.
Before Trump.
But back to the point, it is this strange concoction where these people expect to be exploited. They want to be exploited. They want to participate in the exploitation. It's the only way that these organizations can hold on. And it creates this self-sustaining sphere, which every now and then you get. It's like a catfish. Is the best way I can describe it. It's this bottom-feeding thing that lives in its own ecosystem, and every now and then some other people fall down into the cracks, and they might get sucked up into it. And every now and then the catfish eats some of it and shits them out, and eventually they drift back to the surface. But I mean, it is this strange system, because again, you expect in a market-based system to see a need to add consumers to grow your market, but these people aren't. I mean, look at OAN. OAN had a functional network, and AT&T and everyone else felt very comfortable saying, we're not going to pick up your contract again. We're not going to pay you for your content. We don't have enough subscribers who are interested in your content to continue paying you. At which point they freaked out and they tried to find everything else. Now they're trying to go through some sort of streaming platform that, of course, just like Truth Social, conservatives aren't good at technology.
Well, and then but they'll get their little corner of the nuts that'll just go and follow them. And
But the thing is, who's going to advertise, right? I mean, My Pillow guy is not a bottomless wallet, right?
Right.
Random repackaged GMC dietary supplements or sawdust, sawdust stuffed in your cousin Fred's pill mill, it can't keep the lights on, but it somehow it keeps on doing that. And you talk to some of these people. One of the interesting things that came out during the Alex Jones defamation trial, specifically the punishment phase, because he was already found guilty because he couldn't even defend himself, was how little some of these people who normally in similar positions would expect six-figure salaries. But no, I'm just getting paid like $50,000. And then you turn around to Alex Jones, and of course, Alex Jones is making $250,000. Candace Owens recently got in trouble with her supposedly, black business supporting organization, but only for conservative black businesses,
right.
Where it raised tens of millions of dollars, and Candace Owens is being paid $250,000 every year to be the president.
Well, they're just following the standard right-wing playbook of all the money at the top and vast disparity down the line.
But I mean, again, the market, where does this money keep on coming from? It's actually the strangest transfer of wealth from one group of wealthy people to one group of loudmouth people making them wealthy that I've ever seen in my entire life. It's literally like it is its own snake oil universe of the market.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of the things that's so hard for us to deal with when controlling this issue of bad faith actors in media, bad faith, fake news,
misinformation, and dangerous spin.
Yeah. Which is about to lead us into our main topic. But the thing of it is that we can't control it, because the normal financial levers that we would use to say, no, I'm Mars Candy Company, I'm not advertising M&Ms on your show, I'm
Ford.
I'm Willard Bromley. I'm Brian Media.
I'm Chevy. I know that there's a percentage of your viewership that loves my trucks, and it's still a no.
No, still no. GE doesn't matter. I can't advertise on you, because advertising with you makes me look like I'm supporting you, and I can't do it. So it is the strangest thing is, and I honestly believe it is the one thing that is making the fight against fake news so hard, and this fight against QAnon so hard, is that the normal levers that we pull to stop it simply don't exist here. These people have created their own strange wealth transfer mechanism that makes them immune from the market.
That's pretty accurate. I think that's a good description. For me, it interests me how much the fanatics, the wackos that watch Fox, don't flip out when Fox tries to pretend to be fair. Like, occasionally they'll do something that's pretty much normal journalism. Like
Rarely.
they had that town hall thing with Tim Ryan that was going around yesterday, where he started to just explain like the reality and the truth of the election and the bullshit of January 6th. And the crowd's booing him, and he went with it and said, you don't have to agree, but let me say what I'm going to say. That's how this works. And it was an excellent clip. But you would think that would wreck it for them. But they have so much culty following that I think these people just tune that out.
I have a joke that I heard today.
Oh, boy.
What's the difference between Republicans and Zelensky?
I mean, I have a bunch of deadpan.
Zelensky defends the Capitol.
Oh, I like that. I like that. That's funny.
Boom.
Where'd you hear that?
I saw it online. That was just like,
That's amazing. Olivia points out NPR was talking about this a little this morning. Some evangelical politics tour that's been going on. The sheer amount of unrelated product sales seen at these
Right?
events.
It is the strangest thing. And like what like and half of this is, Betty Lou churning out, plastic figurines of, the Virgin Trump except as a vagina. I don't know. It's like the people who see Mary in a coffee cake. I saw Trump in a picture of this vagina. I have made a plastic mold of this Trump in a vagina.
Yeah.
And you know what? That sounds ridiculous, but it could really be a thing. This is the thing I hate.
Well, and there's really no cure for this shit.
Oh no!
I mean, I don't know how to make an impact on it. I used to think that the mainstream media would balance it out, but no, hasn't worked. And a lot of it, I think, is Tea Party fuckers started to get a lot of traction, and they gave a relationship between the crazy shit and the political wing. The MTG roots, the preambles to Q and Trumpism. They kind of took a lot of this Fox shit and they brought it into the main political discussion matrix. And then it almost seemed like Fox was actually talking about real world things.
No, I think part of the problem is that groups that should have known better, ABC, NBC, CBS, even CNN, all groups who should have known better, wanted to show that they were being fair. And the problem is, there's glimmers that we're getting away from this, but for so much of American media, it's literally like dragging a 4-year-old away from a puppy.
Right.
There's this
But
idea
what are you saying about them wanting to be fair? Like what?
That both sides have to somehow be equal in their minds, right? And when they're not, they're very obviously not. Objectively, they are not. And the problem is that in their quest for fairness, they've lost objectivity, and it's hurting. Like right now,
true.
It's in the middle of hurting CNN. I would argue that MSNBC is probably the most objective network out there right now, because they're not treating both sides as equal. They're saying, no, one side makes sense. Now, does that mean MSNBC doesn't wander into the realm of pure editorial nonsense sometimes? Absolutely not. They definitely do that sometimes. But whenever people put up those little look at the political spectrum on all these news outlets about who's far right and who's far left, and who's more editorial and who's more factual, I get mad, because I'm like, you're falling into a trap right out the gate. You're saying that both sides are equally valid. They aren't.
Right.
Tanky communists are not valid.
But I think what happened was
Nazis are not valid.
What happened was all these people were afraid to be further labeled by the right-wing alt media wackos as unfair, that they tried to combat that
exactly
by providing representation to the wackos.
Oh, let me show you how fair I am. No, you need to stop that. You need to actually be objective, and they've stopped being objective. Like when they put Christian Science Monitor somewhere in the kind of middle, and I'm kind of like, or the Hill, the Hill as moderate conservative. I'm like, really.
Some of that can depend on which property of the Hill you're exposed to.
Yeah, I mean, it could sometimes.
Which one's the one on YouTube? Is it The Rising? Is that the one? I think it's The Rising. That's a Hill property, and they seem to have pretty common-centered commentary.
Hill can kind of be all over the place. I mean, and then again, there's obviously the Young Turks who are completely unabashed and be like, no, I am here to kick Nazi teeth in.
I love me some Young Turks, man. And speaking of that, like that is at least a reaction that is in some balance to this right-wing nutty shit. Like, you've got Young Turks, you've got Midas Touch. Like, there are these channels in a social media sense or a property sense, not a TV channel, that are
Fifth Column. I love me some Fifth Column.
throwing everything like the opposite into the ring. And that, I like that, but it's not news, it's not media, it's not mainstream or not mainstream. It's just content. It's opinion, it's editorial.
And in reality,
like what we do, it's just we're saying what we think.
Yeah, we're giving opinions, riffing off facts. And just to clarify to everyone, we don't think that we're news, right? We're obviously editorializing. If anyone thinks that we're not, I sincerely apologize. Let me explain to you the notion of editorializing. It's
don't
what
get your
we're doing.
News from Twitter anymore. Don't get your news from Facebook, and don't get your news from us.
No,
you're better off looking at the news in a general sense than listening to us bloviate. That's more honesty than you find like in Fox world. That kind of real self-aware, like, it doesn't happen unless they're in court where they have to admit, Tucker Carlson is not news, he's entertainment.
No. Did you hear about this morning's tirade?
Oh, God. From who?
From Fox and Friends.
Oh, boy.
Oh, it's special. It's real special. What do you think it was about, Lucas? What do you think this morning's tirade was about?
Interest rates.
Nah.
Shared bathrooms.
Nah.
Kitty litter.
You're close. You're actually close.
Trans kids?
No.
Oh.
Kittens.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
It's about kittens.
And what about the kittens, David?
They had a tirade about the fact that some universities are introducing kittens as animals for the students to interact with. And, just be like, hey, we have some kittens here. If you're stressed out, come play with some kittens. And they freaked out about it.
Why? What was their angle?
Because the young are snowflakes. They are weak and will not survive the winter. I'm sorry, the batteries in my throat thing died for a second. Winter.
Brian's confirming they lost their collective shit.
Oh my God.
So,
it was so out of control.
While I believe it is fair to remind America that every time we breed another generation, we go a little more into thin-skinned pansy land, the notion of animals as
I want
therapeutic is not new.
No, I want to point out something real fast about the whole thin-skinned pansy land. Grandpa's generation had a problem with the fact that certain people had too much melanin in their skin. And rather, they didn't have too much. They just had more than him. No. Thin-skinned is kind of
hundreds, if not thousands of year old bias. We allow people to come off. That
accurate at all. It hundreds of year old, not thousands of years.
Race bias is real fucking old.
Hundreds in America, not even truly from the beginning even of America.
Being unwilling to come to group review day in an art school with your midterm project because you're too much of a pussy to accept peer reviews from your fellow students. That shit hasn't been around for hundreds of years, and that is some thin-skinned pansy shit.
I'm pretty sure there's a whole bunch of Italian artists who would be right there with them. Yeah.
Nah. Not without being divas.
But that's the thing. Artists are divas. I'm sorry. Like,
I like Olivia's take on this. Literally, who gets her masculinity threatened by the thought of an adult petting a kitten for comfort? Like, the reality is, pet presence as an uplifting notion is old. These fuckers just haven't. They just want something to whine about, and they didn't have anything new today. But how long have we had the conversation about dogs in the workplace? I mean, at least 25 years of, hey, we're a dog-friendly workplace because we found that our employees are happier and do more productive work.
And now we don't even have to worry about it because I can just stay home with my dog.
Yeah. Right. So, like, this isn't new. And I really feel like I was waiting for you to say that they were taking it to some other thing, like, the kitty litter.
Oh,
But
well, I mean, by the way, you did hear that Joe Rogan had to straight up admit that he made up half that shit.
I think I did see that. Yeah.
At that point, I really want to look at Sirius Radio and be like, if you haven't pulled this contract yet, you should. You just should. Because here's what's going to happen. Eventually, someone's going to kill someone, and they're going to be like, well, Joe told me to do it. And Joe's going to stand there like, I was just kidding. And
Right.
if I'm the survivor's lawyer, I'm going to be like, fuck you, $1.5 billion lotto ticket. I just found mine. His name's Joe Rogan and Sirius Radio. I'm about to my client's about to get rich, but I'm about to get 1/3 of $1.5 billion richer.
Well, I wish I had ideas on how this gets any better other than the slow, painful process of waiting for a lot of the ignorant rubes that make up the core old fuckers watching Fox to get bread out or die out. That and just hopefully being able to see like Newsmax is getting back to some kind of old school. It's Newsmax, right? No, News Nation. Newsmax is the bad one. News Nation is the one that's coming along, trying to be a little more old school, straight news journalism. So gaining popularity for those kinds of things is a little bit of an antidote, but it's still not, because they're just going to say, mainstream media, bah. And
but again, every time they do that, it's constantly. The irony is, so I want to point this out to close this out. One of the sad things about this is they've pulled the inverse. Strangely, they've presaged this old fascist tactic called salami politics. And so the reason it's called salami politics is because what Mussolini would do when he was El Duce is he'd build a coalition government, and he'd take some leftists and then all his rightists, and he'd tell the leftists, hey, I want to listen to you. Come join my coalition. And then what he would do is he would find a reason to take the furthest left group in that coalition government and find a way to make them traitors, right? These people are against the Italian state. And he would cut them off. Right. They get arrested and they go away. And then bit by bit, he would just slice off the leftist parties and then the centrists until all he got down to were the rightists. And the strange thing is, in terms of market and media, they've just done this to themselves. They have already performed their salami politics.
mm-hmm.
It's kind of incredible. I like, but you did it before you had power. You skipped ahead 4 steps, and now you're literally like you're just the crazy bum with the tinfoil hat and the old style like beige trench coat with nothing on underneath, and like an umbrella that is half closed, like dancing around on the corner, singing something about you and your friend Meth. Like it's very obvious that you're very good friends with Meth because you're missing most of your front teeth. I don't. Like, Jesus.
Well, you're absolutely right to name the problem and point out the problem, and hopefully we'll get a lot of folks over the next several years. That this election is an opportunity for the litmus test. Is are we going to see some kind of awakening and the realization that this is bullshit or not? That makes one want to drink. And with that, let's do another round. So, is this you next?
I'll go first.
All right. I'm gonna pop mine open while you talk.
I'm kind of amused. I really am. Now that I look at this this can. So this is the crowler for Sanford Brewing. And it's just it looks like this random like 1950s sort of
Back that up a little.
just
There you
random.
go. Is that like all their different beers?
No, no, they're not. They're just random symbols.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
they're
Well,
just they're just
I don't know.
it's just like
It could be art from all their beers over a period of
no,
time.
no. I saw all the art from all their beers. It's not.
Really? It's like a flash tattoo catalog.
It's just like a peel and paint thing. It's just so adorably kitsch. And then you have the big place in the middle.
The right
where
end.
so this is their, and the thing that makes me laugh is all that adorable like 1950s kitschiness. And the name of the beer is the Panty Dropper.
I love it. I'm personally 100% on board with the name of this beer.
It is a double Belgian. I'll try it. Smells Belgian-y. All right. So that's got So here's the thing for a Belgian,
10%. Okay. All right.
Yeah, this is going to be game ender for David. This giant thing. Yeah. Yeah.
So, the art for this beer is hilarious.
Yeah.
It sucks that it's not on that can.
It is not.
It's a little pup
doing the copper tone thing. Yeah.
with a thong in its mouth that it's clearly snatched from some unwitting. I'm sorry, some 100% consenting adult.
Right. It's got. So as compared to most Belgians, it isn't as clean a wheat taste on the front end. This has got more of an ale flavor at the front.
What about fruit and spice? That's in the description I'm seeing on Untapped. Pears, oranges, apples, mild spices, sweet, spicy, seductive, and entirely too drinkable, which I guess is where they get the name.
Once I cleared out my nose just a little, it's got. I'll give it an apple and pear,
Okay.
but it's bitter. It's got it's a bitter apple and pear mixture. I definitely would lean harder on it like a bitter pear.
Is it sweet?
It's not like it's not sweet. Which is surprising. Like it does have those flavors, but they're not sweet. They're not sweetening the beer. They're actually bittering it. Which is a nice little turn.
I want to find this and try it because it sounds delicious.
I will say it has sort of a citrus astringent front. But again, it's not. It's when I say citrus, it has an astringent front, but it's not citrus. It's like apple or pear. It's like some other fruit, but bitter. So again, if you've ever had a bitter pear, or like a pear that isn't fully ripe, and has a little bit of that bitterness, I'm getting a little bit of that. I'm getting, and it finishes on the apple. I will definitely say it finishes on a sour or a bitter apple, but it's like the sour. It definitely tastes like the sweet and the sour, or pardon me, the sweet and the bitter are fighting each other in this, in a way that they kind of come to a neutrality, on it, because there's it definitely bites bitter in the middle, which I like. I like that it bites a little bit bitter, but it leaves you with a little bit of that sweet in the back end. But it starts out with this sort of bitter fruit start.
Okay.
It's but mild. Again, it's not strong.
Right.
It's very mild all the way through. It doesn't present any flavor as overpowering. I think the main thing is like that kind of carries it through for me, that I really like about it is, I really like a lot of carbonation. As Lucas can jokingly tell you, I will almost never drink anything without carbonation. I love carbonation, everything. Water, I would like it carbonated. Juice, I would like it carbonated. Soda, obviously carbonated.
Must be bubbly.
I am a huge, big, bubbly fan. And this is kind of like what I like about Belgians is that they're super duper bubbly. They're extra bubbly. And this keeps that up. It's extra bubbly. And I like it.
So would you describe it as too drinkable? Because that's their hook. Is it's very, very drinkable.
No, I would not. I think that bitter pear note in the middle makes me pause, and I mean, personally, I like the fact that it makes me pause.
Hmm.
It grabs me in the middle of my tongue. It is a nice sort of bitter pear flavor in the middle. I actually prefer that in a Belgian, and I would like to keep it that way.
Well, I am hardly tapping into anything terribly new that no one's ever heard of. I am on an old classic favorite, Robert the Bruce.
Not one we've done on the show, though.
No, I don't think
feel
we
like
have.
yeah, exactly.
So
We've kept the
Floyd,
tradition.
Robert the Bruce. I'm always just really into their labeling. It's got that shiny.
I have to say this. I applaud you
metallic
drinking the
thing.
Robert the Bruce, even though Robert the Bruce has to be the only Three Floyds beer that I hate.
Is it?
It's
You don't like it?
I do not like Robert the Bruce.
Fucking commie. So it's one of my favorites.
I'm gonna let you describe it, and then I'll tell you why I don't like it.
Style or a Scotch ale. Like I'm a fan of the genre in general. I'm trying to think if I've ever had this in a bottle. I think I've only had it off of draft.
Yeah.
So this could be a different situation. I know I've never purchased it in a bottle. In fact, I wouldn't have been able.
Well,
to,
I
really.
mean, maybe you'll make a liar out of me. Maybe it's better from the bottle.
It seems the same as what I've recalled before.
So, go ahead and describe it, and I'll tell you why I'm not a big fan.
There's definitely a lingering malty back end that could offend some people that are really into the hop side. Full bodied, that fits. Well-rounded malty profile. I don't know if I'd call it well-rounded. I think it's a little heavy on the malty side.
No, it's not. It's not well-rounded, but
and roasted biscuit-like notes, I could get behind that maybe. But I don't.
Yeah.
The biscuit thing used to describe beer never really has resonated with me.
You ought to try Southern Grist Hearty Strawberry Brisket. It is actually very biscuity.
I can tell you this, that in my various ancestral lineage, much like a Belgian and some other more Germany things, this one honks the bobo on the Scottish side of the family tree, and I feel like I vibe with it.
My problem,
I don't know if it's my favorite Scottish ale or Scotch ale.
It's the blueberries. It's the blueberries in that one.
I don't pick that up at all,
dude. Like it's there's a sweetness in that from like I taste it mostly because my least favorite fruit of all, or berry or anything, is blueberry. The only reason I can tolerate Sweetwater 420 and that Blue Bear from Sanford is because they sour them, right? They add bitter and sour to it, and I'm okay with it. But like blueberry muffins, blueberry pancakes, I'll be like, can I eat like some crust of something? I don't know. Like, I'm not like, but that like Robert the Bruce to me has this massive blueberry flavor hiding out
that
there.
Up. Your mouth is broken.
It has that massive blueberry flavor hiding out in there.
Okay. I'm trying to see if anybody else has talked about that. See if anybody else says that comes out. It just doesn't hit for me like that.
I know other people have talked about it. We talked like at ML Rose, we talk about it all the time about how Robert the Bruce had that big blueberry flavor.
Huh. Yeah, it doesn't hit me, but I could see how some people might pick it up. I mean, everybody's taster is a little different. So.
Well, no, because that's why I would always go for
wrong comment. Someone needs to make a shortbread pastry beer. I would drink the shit out of that.
Right.
Scottish and thought biscuits, and that's what I wanted.
No, that's why I would always go for a little something from Wiseacre.
Mm-hmm.
Is because like that was big coffee flavor, and like Robert the Bruce would be like, "Oh yeah, we got coffee flavor," and be you drink it, and be like, "Blueberry muffin, blueberry muffin, blueberry muffin, blueberry muffin." Oh. It's like a fraternity initiation in my mouth, dude. It was not okay. Yeah,
well,
make a sound clip of that. There we go.
Moving on to the big discussion. No Way Forward. This was one of David's really well done titles that I pulled out to be the star of the show here, because it really does feel to me like we're so stuck. No way forward. Can we function as a civilization while the right promotes endless, constant violence? And it's like every time we inch a little further to trying to have normal conversations about governance and civics, there's just some fucking dumb ass thug fucking bullshit like Captain Hammer out there in fucking California.
Oh, which by the way, they're going to make hay out of the fact that he's an immigrant now, right?
Well, see, here's the interesting thing about that. The right likes to talk about immigrants are the threat. Okay, well, this guy is Canadian.
God,
is Canadian. He's an immigrant that's here illegally, and you can actually say that. Like, I believe there are illegal immigrants, but they're also undocumented immigrants, and there are differences that you could draw, and this guy demonstrates that really well, because you can come here from Canada just as a visitor.
Yep.
For 6 months.
You can just walk across the border and they don't ask questions.
His 6th month was last month. So he is an illegal immigrant that should have gone the fuck home. Also, what in the dick does he care about our American political issues? So there's so much wrong with this motherfucker's basic presence. Then you get into all the crazy Q fucking horse shit. And I know everybody wants the world to evolve and everybody to be better and for me to not fall into perpetuating stereotypes. But I started hearing about this story and I started building the profile in my head of who this probably was. Then they put his picture on the fucking screen. I said, bingo. Boom. Exactly. That's precisely what I would have looked at this motherfucker and told you he was into.
Can't shave properly. Definitely looks like he belongs in a like dark version of National Lampoon's Christmas, like wearing the tidy whities.
Profile. And I get that we shouldn't do it, but I'm a big believer in there's some human traits that you're not gonna just wave a woke wand and get rid of. And judging people on appearances is one thing that we fucking do as a species. It's going to keep goddamn happening. And you're going to have to get some Star Trek shit up in here before we stop doing it.
But
therefore, when I saw him, I was just like, oh, yeah, profile. And I can't be nice about it. Now, I didn't know he was fucking Canadian. I just assumed he was a whack job from like Montana that scooched his way over to California to do some bad shit. But
I want to come back to
Montana, rural Canada. There's not a lot of difference.
I want to come back to where I got the idea for this topic, though. It was a Washington Post article, and as Lucas knows, I obsessively read the Washington Post, mostly because I actually pay for a subscription to the Washington Post because I'm a decent human being who pays for journalism.
Yeah, I steal it with 12-foot ladder.
Yeah, or when I email him articles. I mean, I also do the same for the Atlantic. I really enjoy the Atlantic. I pay for the Atlantic. That's because I think the Atlantic has great articles.
And nothing I say about this is to say that they're not worth it. I just need somebody to make it make sense. I'm not going to pay all these people. And
right, I believe in you know, people always complain people should pay for porn. Washington Post is my porn.
That's a mental picture no one needed.
Right.
No
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
No one
Give me
watching
that
this
op-ed.
live or
Give me that.
ever.
Give me that. Give me that opinion to the editorial board. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Someone passed the lube. David just got his morning update from the Washington Post.
But I mean, people are always like, oh, well, journalism will die if people don't
Democracy
support
dies in darkness, but not this hard on, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah.
No. But I actually do pay. But there was an article the other day, or an opinion piece from someone who would mediate gang wars,
Oh.
talking about
Huh.
applying that same concept to mediating the fight between Democrats and Republicans, because they
Ooh.
increasingly saw that as being like a gang war.
That's deep shit. Okay.
Except one of the things that struck me as stupid about this trying to transpose I used to mediate gang wars to I'm going to mediate something between Democrats and Republicans is this. One of the prerequisites was that both sides had to actually want to stop the fighting.
Oh, well, that's right out because all they want to do is tantrum and fight until they get what they want, which apparently would be more catching the tire. And we've seen how well that's going so far.
I mean, one of the problems that we have to acknowledge, it's kind of bringing it around to and connecting it back, which is what happened to American media that allowed any of this to happen. Why did right-wing media have to insulate itself into this closed bubble away from any other advertisers? Was because they had to isolate themselves away from anything that would control them so that they could do whatever they wanted to do with impunity. And one of the problems that we keep on having right now in this discussion is the right has no impetus to stop the violence. They have no impetus to come back to the bargaining table. They have no impetus to support a functioning democracy, much less a functioning government. They don't need a functioning government. They just need you to keep tuning in and keep sending them money until there isn't any money left for you to send, at which point, what the fuck do they care about you anyway?
Well, and as far as like the movement, the zealots, the cultists, you often say that the right and its followers aren't very good at looking ahead, and I think that's a big piece of this. It's all, I want to throw hands and kick and scream now with absolutely no concept of where we go from here. I mean, you translate it to my favorite fictional analogy, fucking Sons of Jacob and fucking Handmaid's Tale.
Yep.
Even those motherfuckers had a fucking plan. Like these fucking jackoffs have no fucking plan.
Exactly. And they never have a plan.
And if they get everything that they want, then what? Because they're not going to suddenly not be paupers. They're not going to suddenly, like, the wealth isn't going to suddenly be shared. These fucking rubes.
Politics.
They're gonna end up in a corner going, well, what the fuck did I just do? I'm not any better off.
Well, no. What again? It's salami politics. We turned them against the next target. We turn them against the next target. We turn them against the next target. We turn them against the next target. Remember, Niedermeyer's quote: "First they came for the Jews, and I was not a Jew. Right. Therefore, I said nothing. Then they came for." Then they came for the trade unionists.
The Jews are third in that. I think it's the socialists, the free tradesmen,
the tradesmen, the Jews, the gypsies, the gays, and then they came for me, and there was
no one left to speak for me. Yeah,
but that's how conservatism works. Is that I constantly need a new enemy. I constantly need a new target. I constantly need someone new to fight against, because that's the only way I can function, is by constantly taking a smaller and smaller portion and telling them to turn on a yet smaller segment of the supporters and destroy them to continue the cycle of validation. It's a Ponzi scheme.
Well, it's also extremely, to call it immature is a weird phrasing to me. I don't like to use that phrasing. I think underdeveloped, maybe. So I was sitting having lunch yesterday
Yeah.
at a great cafe
Alright.
bar and talking to my bartender slash lunch server. I obviously had a beer, but um, we're just bantering. It's a pretty I would say left slash woke friendly establishment. It's right on the main
Yeah.
drag. It's downstairs from the Chamber of Commerce, so it's usually a great meal spot for me when I'm doing a day of work
Oh,
there.
nice.
And I was talking to this young dude, cool guy. I got the vibe. Most of the people that work there, I get the vibe, and they have like Black Lives Matter flags in the fucking windows. Like this place is
Yep.
cool. And he and I were talking about like the level of nuttiness. And I told him, you could never have gone back in time and told me that full grown groups of adults would take the extremely childish approach that if I don't win, the game is rigged. Like literally until Trumpism, the last time I heard that logic was in fucking elementary school. And no one prepared me as a teenager and as a college student that the real world could involve that kind of fucking rube, dumb fuck, knuckle dragging piece of shit.
Yep.
And it was always like, you know, you knew they were there, but they were fringe. They never mattered. Like
Oh, yeah.
somehow the demagoguery and fucking bullshit of Trump unlocked these fucking people, these people that were where they goddamn belong in the fucking wilderness, irrelevant, barely given the privilege to reproduce and pass their fucking garbage on to another goddamn generation. And then all of a sudden, somehow he made these people relevant, present, involved, and just active enough to get his ass in the office. And it all went to shit from there. And I just can't believe that this concept that, like, I literally, like maybe mental images of fifth grade playground being the last time I had an actual conversation with another human being about, no, you're just pissed because you lost. There's nothing wrong with the game. You're just mad because you got your ass kicked.
So, do you remember a particular guy that we used to work with, Spitley? Do you remember Spitley?
No idea, but you have some kind of spitly on your chin. I don't know, what did you do? Blow your nose and leave half the tissue with it?
Oh,
There you go.
Trying to breathe. No, Spitley.
You
was a guy-
bearded weirdos with your facial Brillo pads.
Sorry about that, everyone. So the problem is
I don't
that,
remember who the fuck are you talking about? Spitley?
Yeah.
I don't know if I know.
Yeah. Well, he was one of the guys attached to. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's what work with you mean. So, extremely vague backgrounder. I at one point in time and still remain available for a project David has worked on for many years for a software startup, basically a SaaS startup, and there were multiple different agents in the mix that would be part of it in operational or financial ways. And so sometimes I forget the weirdos because we found a lot of weirdos in that process.
But there was this guy Spitley, and one of the things that struck me about Spitley was this. Well, I'd be on the phone and on emails to Spitley being like, where the fuck is my money? Where's my money, Spitley? Where's my money? He'd be like, well, I think we need to take a step back and pray about it.
Red flag.
So part of what defines, I really feel like defines
really,
so
Mr.
much
Olstein, pray, eh? Yeah.
Defines conservatism is magical thinking. In other words, I can't make connections between point A and point B. I can't, or if I do, I don't like the answer. And I hate to say, like, I hate to bring this up again because I feel like I trot it out too much, but it keeps on rearing its head. But the democratization of feeling, the idea that if I feel something, it must be true.
Yes.
So if I pray about it, it'll come to pass.
Or I'll get somehow enlightened by a divine spark. Normally, when people sign off, I leave it alone because they don't say anything particularly special. But Brian saying goodbye tonight, I like his mantra here. Just when it gets good, I gotta go. Fuck stuff up and break shit. I love it.
Right?
I love it.
But I mean, like it's that idea of, and what makes it seem so childish is it's that magical thinking. That's the real problem.
Yeah, I guess so. You know what
It's
I'm
the
going to say. You never like what I have to say about
Oh,
this, but
God.
fundamentally, it's my absolute committed belief that people on the right are more susceptible to the magical thinking principle because they're more likely to be religious people. And religious people, in my estimation, are gullible and
Well,
willing to buy
see,
into magical thinking.
and see, my argument is like it's a which came first, the chicken or the egg argument is where we come down to. I argue that they're more susceptible to that type of religious thinking because they're already more gullible.
Maybe I could at least meet you on chicken and egg land there. Like, which came first, the gullible jackass or the mythology of zombie Jesus? I can
Right.
meet you there.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that neutral ground. I accept that neutral ground.
I don't know which came first because I don't know if I want to believe that the human animal was built stupid and gullible or we just learned it.
Just remember that we invented the steam engine nearly 500 years before Christ.
Okay. Yeah, all right. Olivia points out we have a lot of woo-woo science crystal collecting astrology believing vaccine avoidant people on our own over here.
Yeah, right.
There is a weird hippie factor. In fact, I had for all I know, they watch the show, so they might tell me one day when I see them that they're pissed. But I had a friend request come through Facebook. I get a lot of friend requests lately that are from people in local activism, and unfortunately, and this is not to say that anybody should change it, but y'all, I can't look at a friend request lineup that's nothing but fucking defund the GRPD graphics and figure out who the fuck anybody is. So I always have to go in and like click. Oh, there's a picture of an actual person. Anyway, this one person came along and I thought, oh, I think I actually do remember meeting this person. I might approve their request. Let me see what they're up to. And one of their profile pictures had a not vaxxed and proud of it or some kind of little graphic on it. The caveat is that they are someone that's definitely over 40, 45 and African American. And so I have to temper myself as like, okay, you're you're not necessarily an idiot because you have reason to ask questions when the government wants to give you shots.
You know what? Sit Cass on them. Sit Cass on them. That's what I would do.
Oh yeah, I mean,
hey, Cass, Cass.
There is something to be said for stepping away as the white guy in the room and saying, hey, educated, scientifically aware black folks, please talk to one of your folks over here and get them to understand that there is a difference. This is not the same thing. But, I have a harder time condemning based on experience in that case. It's rough. I just left it hanging. That was the end result. Yep. So Olivia's right. We do have, there's some moon bats. I mean, one of them fucking ran in our last Democratic primary. What was her name? The fucking wacko fucking hippie lady.
You know what's sad?
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, about Princess Stardust.
Yeah, we can't remember her real name, can we? Because
no, I just have the nickname we gave her during the primaries, Princess Stardust. You know what's sad is I think at the end of the day, part of her argument was correct, and it's frustrating. Which is America does have, like, her entire argument was America has something wrong with its core. It has something wrong with its soul. And the more we keep on trying to fight, the worse it gets. But the only problem is it's one of those situations where it's like a limb caught in a bear trap. Yeah. Are we? The more we fight, the more damage we do. Yeah, that's accurate. On the other hand, I can't get that limb back. And honestly, once it's been crushed by a bear trap, do I want that limb back?
Right.
Uh, there's a very fundamental part of me with when it comes to the kind of conservatism that we've seen in America that views it in the realm of cancer. Of if I'm the doctor, right? Do I want to cut off a limb? No, my goal should be to not cut off a limb. Cutting off limbs is bad, right? This is not a Civil War field hospital, guys. This is not right. Cutting off limbs is bad. I don't want to do that. But if the patient is better off without the limb as opposed to with the limb, then I should cut off the limb, especially if leaving the limb on kills the patient. Right? If a limb is gangrenous, be like, hey, I'd rather not take your arm. I wish I could do something to cure your arm. However, it's gangrene. I got to cut off the arm.
Yeah.
And I look at a lot of the QAnon circuit. I look at a lot of the modern conservatism. And I'm very clear when I say modern conservatism, I don't mean classical conservatism. Bill Kristol is an asshole. I don't like Bill Kristol. You know what? I don't think we need to cut off Bill Kristol. Fucking, what's his name? Fuck Lincoln. I don't know. Lincoln Chafee. I don't know. Who else? Hell, like I don't even think she's a good example of it. But Cheney. I mean, even she's not really that much a good example of classical conservatism. But I don't feel the need to cut off Cheney. Like I don't. That's not someone. Brian Kemp.
Mm-hmm.
Bob Dole before like the yogurt took over his brain. I mean, there's a lot of conservatives who I don't like. Alan Simpson. Alan Simpson's a great example. I don't like these days. I don't like Alan Simpson or his politics. But you know what? I don't feel the need to cut off Alan goddamn Simpson.
Michael Steele.
I mean, there's lots of guys. Just like I don't need to cut these guys off. But that over there is an infection.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
we need to start treating it like an infection. And I think one of the things
and nobody on the right seems to be willing to break out the fucking scalpel or the
well, they are breaking out the scalpel.
The little emergency saw kit, the little fucking metal wire that you carry in your pocket for when you when you fall down a ravine and have to cut off the limb to get out.
That's what Cheney did. Cheney broke out the scalpel, like her own scalpel, and divorced herself from the party.
I mean, she did, but
the thing is
not effective.
She wasn't, and the thing is, there had been other Republicans beforehand who had also done the same thing. Brian Kemp, before her, had kind of been like, no, Alan Simpson. Even under Shrub, had kind of been like, listen, I want to be fair about this. And then the Republican Party, Alan Simpson tried to lead the way in saying, we should be the leaders in making sure gay marriage should be a thing. As a Republican.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And he got shot down. And I mean, there are other people who, bit by bit, the Republican Party has cut off the parts of itself that connect it to the whole. And I think one of the problems that, again, Princess Stardust tried to point out was that there is a problem with America. So that there's this gap where we no longer have the means to reach a lot of these people and say, what you're doing is wrong. You've literally lost touch with objective reality.
Mm-hmm.
Math. Just basic math of do your taxes and do the numbers and
basic math of comparing flu to COVID.
Well, no, just not just flu to COVID, but like one of the big examples that they always use is like, well, taxes are completely out of control. No, they aren't. Here's math. I mean, when I was a member,
difference is this new program going to make to you? Oh, a penny a year. Grow up.
Yeah, when I was a member of the Republican Party, I was raised in a idea
Mm-hmm.
that we were the party of sensibility. We were the party that was a level head.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that turned me off, the thing that set me away from the Republican Party, is we stopped being the party of a level head. When I can do the numbers, when I can do basic math and say your tax plan doesn't make sense, when I can do basic math and say, hey, we get a better result with this higher tax rate as opposed to this lower tax rate. Even if we aren't spending anything, we get a better result.
Let me lean into the title here a little bit. No Way Forward, which is the apocalyptic view of it. There is potential for a way forward, and you know you right off the top. Well, I'm going to get to it. Right off the top, you said something about no deterring forces for these kinds of things, and that's where I want to throw something else you've said in the past into the arena and talk through that as we come into the home stretch here.
Sure.
You've often cited that these people only learn through their own violent lessons. And that's really where I see this endless fucking cycle of the right promoting and celebrating violence having to end. But every time there's a chance of this happening, they fuck it up. And so far, it's been like 0-5 to cops, right? So cops, Capitol Hill, Capitol Police, January 6th, failed to fucking put down these pieces of crazed shit like they should have, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I caught some kind of, it was an opinion piece on CNN's political site either yesterday or today. Fanone, the one most outspoken Capitol policeman, who was a lifelong Republican before he had his ass beaten by these motherfuckers on January 6th.
Learned the hard way, didn't you, buddy?
He said, if America knew the conversations that we all have in the locker room, in the Capitol PD, amongst ourselves, I don't know if anything would be any different, but if you could only hear it. And he quoted, paraphrased, saying that they talk about, do you think we should have just fucking opened fire and fucked them all up? Like, they actually have conversations about regret, that they don't know if they should have just started offing these motherfuckers.
Yep.
And for me, I've looked at it. Everybody knows this. I've looked at it as an abject fucking failure that the authorities, including the police and the National Guard, didn't show up and blanket spray the landscape and turn that fucking place into human right-wing extremist chowder.
And again, I want to point this out, and I will repeat this every single time. As someone who worked at the Capitol, who literally was a little bit tweaked out by the fact that every time I had to approach the speaker's office, there were 4 guards with HK-45 automatic submachine guns standing right there in suits with the overslung HK-45 at the ready. I don't understand how, when in peace, literally, granted, it wasn't that far past 9/11, but it was a good bit past 9/11 when I was working in the Capitol. When I had guns pointed at me for just being a congressional staffer, right? So, wandering around the building, I don't understand how the guys with submachine guns,
right,
didn't light them up.
So take that macro example to the micro example of the Pelosi attack. This motherfucker is holding the husband of the third most powerful office holder in the United States, third in line, leader of the free world, hostage with a deadly weapon. Let's use the police's own terminology, a fucking deadly weapon, a hammer. We can debate whether that's true, but the police consider it a deadly weapon and a reason why they would normally shoot a black person holding a hammer. And instead of fucking leveling this scumbag, they hold off. They allow him to beat the shit out of Mr. Pelosi. And then somehow they still exercise restraint. What in the world could be different about him versus all the random black folks that they've opened fire. Oh, wait, he's a white dude. So what I'm getting at really is the weakness in the lesson that needs to be taught to the violent right, which is violence in return by authority figures. The breakdown in that system is happening at the police level. And I know that I'm getting on the self-righteous train from my previous statements, but you remember, because I told it to you, and I've told it to several people I've talked to, I will always be angry at Barack Obama for not deploying the National Guard in Charlotte when the streets were filled with a face-off of protesters versus the police. And to me, he should have doubled down on the identity of being the first black president, fighting for the Black Lives Matter concept. He should have deployed the guard to stand in a line in front of the citizens facing the cops, because it would have set a precedent. First of all, it would have been just fine. At the time, I thought, well, would it set off a bunch of racists? Never mind. It fucking happened anyway. We got Trump, and now look where we are. So he should have just same as always, doubled down on principle.
We need to stop playing this game. We need to continue to play this game of if we're restrained, they'll be restrained. They won't be restrained.
No.
I also want to point something out, and there is a moment, and
take it from any nerdy kid that ever got bullied in school. Your logic and reason and calm and restraint just results in more beatings.
Yep, it does. When there comes a point where you have to. And I want to point something out. So, Avalanche posted something on our page earlier today about violence, and I want to be very clear, just for the purposes of, if nothing else, the algorithm. We do not endorse or condone violence on this channel. We're not going to do that. However, I say this. However, I firmly believe that it is, like, because we've talked about, like, the right doesn't think things through. They don't do these. We saw that on January 6th, right? I had the pleasure of listening to a far right commentator on Alternate History Hub thoroughly lose hope after January 6th, because he was convinced that the right could launch a successful revolution. And he watched January 6th, and he at least had the mental fortitude to look at it and be like, oh shit, we're fucked. But I do believe that it is the goal. And I've said this multiple times. I'm going to keep on saying it because I know it's the truth. The right is convinced to find some combination of violence that they believe will trigger a violent backlash from the left. George Floyd wasn't the backlash that they wanted. They want leftists to hit back and hurt Nazis, right? And they want to continue to push until they can find that formula where they think they're going to get enough leftists to do something and that'll be the thing that unifies them, right? That Biden wasn't it, and the thing that every time they turn around, they keep on trying to look for some scenario in which they're all going to rise up and form this Turner Diaries revolution bullshit. And the thing is, it never happens. Not because for two reasons. Number one, the left isn't the monolithic thing that they like. Antifa is not hiding out in the suburbs of Des Moines, right?
Right.
Waiting with their secret splinter cell to, I don't know, do what? Like throw glitter on your children that makes them gay? I don't know what goes through, like, the insanity. Like, again, they're not really thinking this all the way through. Like, what are they doing? Like, are they did they clean up old people's lawns? I don't know what. Yes, this was an act of terror. Antifa.
Well, I think
painting white picket. No, let me finish real fast. I just want to finish this. So the thing that doesn't make any sense in their minds is that they want a civil war. They want this giant climactic battle that they think is going. They want Armageddon. They want their own Armageddon where they can win. Where they, oh yeah, I'm going to fight him and I'm going to win. without understanding that. And this is the thing, is they're going to keep on pushing until they get it. And here's the thing, more and more, I believe that they'll get it. And I believe they'll get it in their lifetime. And I believe that they'll get it much sooner rather than later, which is they want a civil war. And the thing that they don't understand, and this is the thing that they really, really, really don't get, is it's not going to be the state of Texas rises up and declares itself for the new Confederacy or the free American states or whatever the hell they want to call themselves.
Yeah.
It's going to be my neighbor burned down my house. It's going to be it's going to be I can't get out of the city, the interstate's blocked by car debris, by some militia or the other. It's going to be the grocery store's empty. It got looted 2 days ago. I haven't seen the military. The water's off. There's no electricity. What do I do? I have my prep kit downstairs, but I got raided and half my prep kit is gone. It's what they want.
The lack of organization that you've often referenced sounds like it's at the core of everything you're describing.
They believe that if they can break everything, that they'll somehow come out on top, without realizing that the fact that they aren't already on top is proof that they won't come out on top in the anarchy.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the sad reality of what they're going for, is they're going to continue pushing until they can try and find a way to break into that anarchy.
Which is why I'm pissed that there haven't been definitive, painful, violent responses by authorities to these bullshit incidents. And it leans into what Olivia's saying here, and this is what I was essentially going to caveat with. We don't condone me, you, our viewers, citizen violence.
No.
But I 100% condone some violence as described in this comment by the state and the justice system. Death penalties, immediate reactions by the police in the moment. There should be absolutely no world that we live in where some random fucking basement dwelling, mouth breathing, fucking neckbeard, goddamn Q white fucker stands there and beats an old man with a hammer and doesn't get his ass at least tased, if not blown the fuck away. Because if it was a black man doing the same thing in any rich white person's house, they would have goddamn shot on sight. We all fucking know it. And we've all felt the same way about January 6th the whole fucking time. From the moment we saw it going down live on TV to this day. And that's what we're missing, is definitive, hardcore responses from authorities. And back to the beginning of the show, we talked about the sheriff's department being in cahoots with these fucking election deniers and interrogating people when they come to vote. It shows we cannot depend on these fucking bubbas. We cannot depend on these pieces of shit.
The thing we have to recognize is that these bubbas don't do anything to begin with. They're idiots.
I'm talking about the cops. We can't depend on them to be the agent. It has to be federal. It has to be that the federal government says, you know what, you're out of control. We're sending in the National Guard. Fuck you.
And that would be great. At this point, I don't believe that we can avoid some species of anarchy. I believe it's necessary at this point. This is why I was being very clear about we don't condone violence, but I believe that the right will continue to they will continue to press and press and press and press and press and press and press until they find that weak point someplace. If I had to guess, I would pick a moderately sized Midwest metropolis like Des Moines or Peoria or Lincoln, Nebraska or Oklahoma City again.
Right. Yeah.
Or Denver. And they were going to look for that weak point and do something so outrageous that it has. No, it's not going to be Minneapolis. Minneapolis is far too big. It's got to be smaller than that, because it's got to be someplace where the immediate response to whatever they do
is
can't.
dumbfounded, like
Yeah,
so that they
can't be
have the
strong.
time to continue to hold. Right.
Can continue to do something awful, like kill every Jew, or find every gay or trans person that they can find and kill them, or do something absolutely massively catastrophic.
And see,
That
in your
must by
doomsday scenario, what I need to see, and what I believe that we thought we had a country for, would be, okay, so local authorities have split off, and half of them are with the rebellion. The ones that are not with the rebellion don't have their shit together. We're going to send in the federal agencies. We're going to take control of the jurisdiction. We're going to take control of the case. And oh, by the way, in 3 hours, if you don't surrender, there are low-flying black helicopters with a lot of fucking caliber and a lot of fucking explosives.
you miss,
and we're going to peel off the walls of whatever building your ass is in.
You missed two problems. There's two problems. First off, it's estimated up to a third of FBI agents were in favor of the coup. They were okay with it. Like, well,
Yeah.
why didn't we treat Black Lives Matter protesters the same? Because they weren't the same. Also, you have to remember Department of Homeland Security, which is a federal agency, is rife with fucking Nazis. It's been documented that they're rife with fucking Nazis. So is the Border Patrol. If you're asking to mobilize the National Guard, especially in some place like, say, Iowa, I don't have any good guarantee that all the Iowa, because we watched what happened in Oklahoma with the vaccine mandates. I don't have any good guarantee that the Oklahoma National Guard is going to obey a federalization order.
I don't know if it's our only option. I mean, on 9/11, it wasn't the National Guard that was preparing to shoot down the plane in Pennsylvania.
But a lot of them, it was the Air National Guard that was.
But when the shit
mobilized.
really hits the fan, I'm not sure how this, because when you
and also I want to point out that
over to domestic terrorism, you get a little fuzzy on who can respond.
I hate to point out the one branch of the military most dominated by Christian nationalists is the United States Air Force.
No, I was going to guess Marines, but
no, it's the Air Force. Yeah, that's not a good thought, is it? That's not a good thought. Nah.
No, but for me, I think the small scale is what matters, and we're not seeing these people taught the lesson that they're the only lesson they're going to understand. And I'm going to go back to my allusion to the bully factor, because I was a skinny, tall, lanky, nerdy music kid, and I had a problem with somebody in high school that kept getting after me after school and bullying me. Two different people, actually. One of them was a friend of a friend. Everybody has that guy that's like in their friend group, but they're not really friends with, and they're kind of a bully.
Yeah.
And he used to fuck around. And one afternoon, he decided to jump up on my back, which is already terrible, risky idea to do to somebody. And I was trying to laugh and be like, yeah, okay, haha, get the fuck down. Get fucking off of me. And he wouldn't do it. And I was tired of his bullshit. So I just ran backward full force. Now, I've always been this tall. I haven't always been this fat. But I've always been pretty fucking heavy. And I just plowed backward and ran him into the support beam. And this is old school 70s school construction. So this is a fucking,
yeah, I know,
thick ass support beam for the awning at the school. And as soon as he hit it, I felt all of his limbs ungrip, and he just exploded around that fucking beam. And the echo went down the whole campus through the metal fucking roof. And he never fucked with me again. And the same for the kid that used to come around fucking with me, little shrimpy motherfucker. And one day he actually tried to bitch slap me and snagged like the front of my face. And I decided, okay, next time he's not going to settle for that. So being the resourceful music student that I was, I went to the spare parts in the drum room. And if anybody's ever examined a cymbal stand, the end that the cymbal screws onto in a drum set, when removed as its own piece and angled in a -45, basically creates a sickle, threaded. And I pulled that out of my backpack the next day, and he left and he never came back. These motherfucking pieces of shit, these bullies. This is why I'm such an asshole when I engage in local politics, because the bullies have taken over the conversation.
Yep.
We have to have assholes and bullies to fight assholes and bullies. It's a lesson that they will never learn through civility.
And that is 100% correct and honest. But the problem is that we have, from my perspective, when I'm looking at it from an overarching view, right, from a top-down view, all these individual groups, they have the Turner Diaries, they have this mythology that they've built up around a new civil war. They're going to start a new revolution that's going to issue in the anarchy in which they're finally relevant. Right?
Yeah. Finally relevant is a very key phrase there, because these fucking jackasses, like when you hopped off for a second earlier, I was talking about how they've been in the wilderness.
I heard you.
Where they should have been the whole fucking time.
Yeah,
and
no, I heard you.
Instead of being left there, they've been pulled into relevance, and they become entitled to it.
It's it's like the kid that I actually, and I do regret hurting him. I didn't mean to hurt him when it happened. When he ended up hurting me back, I felt really bad about that. I'm still angry about it, although there's a lot of things that happen afterwards where I'm like, karma's a bitch. How's dad doing in Leavenworth, motherfucker? Anyway, because dad's still in federal prison after that. That's what happens when you steal from the Navy.
Good God.
But I mean, like, the thing of it is, if these guys, they're not looking for these singular instances of like, oh yeah, I won, yeah, because again, Oklahoma City was that, in Oregon, the fucking bird sanctuary for them was that, fucking Bundy and his goddamn cattle ranch was that. None of those gave them the satisfaction. It's all like quick hits. It's all like that microdose of the drug that they're looking for.
Yeah,
and
we stuck it to the man that one time. Yeah,
the problem is that they're going to continue looking for that bigger drug, that bigger smash, that thing that they can get that gives them the anarchy where they finally believe that they'll be kings, they'll be the leaders. Here's the thing. I don't imagine that if anarchy happens tomorrow, I'm suddenly going to be, I don't know, King Dick of Bellevue. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't imagine, like, it doesn't matter that I'm probably smarter than a lot of people in my neighborhood. It doesn't matter that I'm definitely not faster than most of them. I can probably shoot better than a good portion of them. But I'm not imagining myself as some sort of like hero that's going to take over and like win.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But these guys do, because they need it. Right. And
they've been insignificant fuckwits their whole lives. They've never mattered. And they've been fed by these right-wing ideologues the notion that if they just keep going with this crazed herd, they're going to matter. They're going to be powerful. They're going to be rich. They're going to be relevant. They're going to get pussy. Like, whatever the fuck the bullshit promise is, they believe that they can get there. And I mean, when you have everybody in the room thinks they're going to matter, it never works out. There's never a winner. It always devolves into chaos. So it's destined for chaos. I just don't want us to be along for that fucking ride, which is why I'm so adamant about that. And the enablement, the enablement is a big piece of it. And I don't want to go down the Musk rabbit hole again because that's been beaten.
Well, no, but
that horse is beaten. But
that's one of my arguments.
The permissiveness of Musk in Twitter, the FBI with credible information of a broad threat to synagogues in New Jersey is the headline tonight. Like the permissiveness of this fucking discussion that these assholes are having.
Anyway,
it's got to
go. At this point, I'm firmly of the belief that it's going to happen no matter what we do. Because again, it's their only option. Their only option is to escalate, continually, to continue to escalate all the time, again and again and again and again and again and again and again. They have to continue to escalate. That's the nature of just in the same way that fascism has to continuously find a new minority or a new group to target. On its way up to the point where it can target different minorities, it has to continue to escalate.
Yeah.
Ironically, I will point this out just so I'm being 100% clear. Communism, revolutionary communism, does the same thing. It seeks to continue to escalate.
Right.
That's how we ended up with the October Revolution. They had the February Revolution with Kerensky, and Kerensky was trying to, kind of fix things. Not very well, if I'm being honest, but kind of fix things. And then we had the October Revolution because escalation. These guys are going to continue to look for that escalation. They're going to continue to look for that place where they can find the weakest point of the membrane and punch through and create chaos and anarchy.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we need to acknowledge that it's going at this point. I feel like we need to acknowledge that it's going to happen.
And I think next week, the election is going to provide the next platform for certain people in certain places to try to show out. We don't know how widespread that would be. We don't know how far that would go. We don't know what the subject at hand will be. But they're already stacking up to question the validity of perfectly managed elections in perfectly managed districts, usually perfectly managed by Republicans.
Yep.
It's not it.
All right, we're so over time. I apologize to everyone.
On a brighter note, David, let's end on one positive thing, even though, David and I have this back and forth now where I call him a naysayer and tell him that he's shitty as a Predators fan. But right now, I'm going to sign off and go downstairs and watch this fucking game because we just started the second period. After leaving the first period with the Predators 1-0 on Calgary, they started the next period within 2 minutes, fucking 3-0 on Calgary.
There we go.
So, go Preds. Go Preds. That'll be next on our agenda. And we'll go tune into that. Well, at least I will. I don't know what David's hotel room offers him for Predators games.
It offers me nothing. I'm literally going to I'm going to call you on the phone because my Wi-Fi is so bad. I'm not going to lie.
He's going to make me do the play-by-play commentary for him.
No, because you've dropped 5 times during the course of the entire evening.
Oh,
while I've been watching this. I'm whenever I've seen super still, there's a reason.
Yeah, you're freaking out a little bit. That's nice.
No, I wasn't freaking out. That was me no longer connected to the show.
Well, I did see you on our end freeze once, but other than that, not really. I think the collective that got out to the world was relatively reasonable, hopefully. Anyway, folks, we've drilled this one. We've smacked it around. We've talked it through. All we can do now is sit back, hold on, and wait. But we appreciate everybody joining us. It was great to see some new people tonight. Always great to see the returning folks. And we're going to get back to real life and keep crossing our fingers for the best outcome, which means the only thing left to say is good night.
Good evening.
And
good
luck.